It started like any other evening. Raina had just returned from a short trip to visit her sister up north, one of those spontaneous getaways she'd started taking more frequently in the past few months. She always came back refreshed, glowing even, claiming she needed the time to reset. I didn't argue. I figured everyone needed a break now and then, and I was really trying not to be the paranoid, insecure boyfriend who read too much into everything. But that night, something felt off. Not in a dramatic way. It was subtle, like the hum of a fridge you only notice when it stops. She came in through the front door carrying her duffel, humming a tune I didn't recognize. She dropped her keys on the counter and gave me a quick, distracted kiss, barely a brush of lips, and then headed straight upstairs with a tossed, "I'm gonna take a quick shower. Don't go anywhere." I watched her walk away and shrugged it off. I figured she was tired from traveling. I turned back to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water, and leaned on the island while scrolling through my phone. That's when I saw it, her laptop wide open on the counter, lit up like it had been waiting for someone to find it. The screen was still bright, a half-composed Spotify cue visible in the background. But what caught my eye was a browser tab labeled Chat App Tyler. Tyler. That name had popped up once or twice before, always with the casual tone of someone long removed from importance. "Just a guy I used to know from college," she had said once, dismissively when I'd seen a text preview on her lock screen during dinner. "He's married now, lives in Denver or somewhere boring like that. We don't really talk." I almost didn't click. Almost. But something about the tab, just sitting there like an open secret, tugged at me. So I clicked. The chat opened in a heartbeat, and immediately I knew this wasn't casual. This wasn't surface-level catching up or inside jokes about dorm food. There were timestamps: 3:12 a.m., 1:47 a.m., 11:03 p.m., all while she'd been on her trip, supposedly sharing late-night cocktails and board games with her sister. Messages that said things like, "Can't sleep again. You up? Wish I could hear your voice right now. That photo you sent, damn. I needed that today." And from her, "I miss your laugh. I can literally hear it in my head sometimes. I was thinking about that night on your balcony. Do you still remember it the way I do?" My hands went cold. I scrolled further. There was a picture she had taken from our balcony just a few weeks ago. She had shown it to me the day she took it, claiming she liked the morning light and the way the steam from her coffee curled in the air. I'd smiled and told her it looked peaceful. Turns out it wasn't for her. It was for him. There was nothing explicitly S***Zool in the chat, no nudes or S***XDS or brazen declarations of love. But honestly, I think that would have hurt less. This was worse. This was emotional. It was late-night vulnerability and shared memories and conversations you don't have with someone unless you want to be seen by them. I closed the tab just as I heard the shower turn off upstairs. I stood there, rooted to the floor. Not angry, not panicked, just suddenly aware of a new, heavy silence between us. I knew right then that something had cracked. When she came back down in her robe, towel around her shoulders, she looked at me and paused. Her eyes flicked toward the laptop, then quickly back to me. "You find anything good on there?" she asked casually, nodding toward the screen. I was making a playlist for the drive and totally forgot to shut it. I said nothing. I just raised my glass of water and drank slowly. Her eyes narrowed for half a second, so quick it could have been imagined. Then she smiled and walked over, brushing a hand across my back like nothing was wrong. She sat across from me and opened the laptop again, this time navigating deliberately away from the browser. "Just some dumb chats," she said with a shrug. "Tyler messaged me a few times while I was gone. He's going through a rough patch or something. Honestly, it's mostly just nostalgia nonsense. We used to make fun of each other all the time in college. Harmless, really?" I nodded. "Right?" Her smile faltered slightly. "What?" "Nothing," I said. "Just tired." And that was it. We didn't fight. We didn't dig into it. I didn't ask why her old college friend was suddenly a nightly confidant, why he got the raw, emotional parts of her while I got the leftovers. I didn't ask why she hadn't mentioned him more if he was supposedly so unimportant. I didn't ask why she didn't once call me during her trip but had clearly been talking to him nearly every night. Because I already knew the answers. That night, I lay in bed next to her, wide awake. She fell asleep easily, one hand curled beneath her chin like a child, breathing slow and even. I stared at the ceiling, feeling something hollow open up inside me. I wanted to tell myself it was just nostalgia, just some old spark flickering out in safe, distant text bubbles. But I've been around long enough to know that emotional in * Macy doesn't need proximity to grow dangerous. It thrives in gaps. It slips in through cracks and burrows deep until it becomes something real. Something more. I thought about all the nights she told me she was too tired to talk. All the moments I reached out only to get half-hearted replies. All the ways she'd beg *N to drift subtly like a tide I hadn't noticed until I was knee-deep in cold water. The unease didn't explode, it settled. Deep. Quiet. Permanent. She murmured something in her sleep and rolled over, reaching for me. I let her hand land on my arm and stayed still, breathing through clenched teeth. From that night on, I didn't look at her the same way. I didn't accuse. I didn't cry. But I remembered. Every word on that screen, every late timestamp, every shift in tone. Something had shifted. And I couldn't shift it back. It didn't happen all at once. Suspicion, contrary to what movies tell you, isn't usually a lightning strike. It's more like a slow leak in a tire, subtle, easy to dismiss, until you're stranded somewhere on the side of the road wondering how you didn't see it coming. After the night I saw those messages, I started noticing things. Things that had always been there but that I chalked up to quirks, to growth, to normal relationship ebb and flow. But now, through a different lens, those same things felt like puzzle pieces I'd been too trusting to connect. First, it was the gym. Raina had never been big on fitness. When we first started dating, she'd openly joked about how she didn't believe in sweating unless it was for tacos or dancing. But sometime around March, about 3 months before the trip, she started hitting the gym 5 days a week. At first, I was proud of her. She said she just wanted to feel stronger, healthier, more energized. I offered to join her. She declined, said she preferred working out alone. And I believed her. But thinking back now, I realized she never came back sore. Her water bottle never looked used. She'd leave in brand new athletic gear, sometimes with makeup still on, and return just as fresh. I'd ask how the workout went, and she'd shrug. It was good, with the kind of vagueness that felt deliberate. Then there were the business trips. Raina worked in marketing for a mid-size firm, not glamorous, not nothing, just standard. Her job had never required travel before. Then suddenly, around spring, she had 3 trips in 2 months. Chicago, Nashville, Seattle. The Seattle one overlapped with our anniversary. I remember being disappointed but supportive. She said it was a client pitch she couldn't reschedule. Rain checked dinner when I get back, she had promised over FaceTime. Except when I asked her afterward how the pitch went, she was fuzzy. She couldn't remember the client's name. It was just another boring meeting, she said. Honestly, you didn't miss much. I believed that too. I didn't want to be the guy who grilled his girlfriend for details. But now I found myself going over every word, every missed detail. Like how she never brought back receipts or brochures from these trips. Like how her company never posted about them online. Like how she always came back with that same glow. And then there was the clothing. Around the same time the trip started, her style shifted, subtly at first. She'd always had great taste, a mix of comfortable and cool. But suddenly she was dressing like someone with somewhere specific to be. Lacy camisoles under oversized jackets. Bright lipsticks on days when she claimed she wasn't leaving the house. Brand new shoes, heels she hadn't worn since her best friend's wedding. She said it was just her finding herself again. I didn't question it. I told her she looked beautiful. I meant it even if something about it felt staged. Like she wasn't dressing for herself. Or for me. And the makeup? She never used to wear it to the grocery store. Now even a quick errand run had her doing winged eyeliner and spritzing perfume. I kept thinking about all the times she said, "I won't be long," before disappearing for 3 or 4 hours. When I asked what took so long, she always had a story. A long line. She bumped into someone. She forgot something and had to double back. And I always smiled. Always nodded. The final trigger was her phone. Or rather, how she treated it. Raina had never been secretive. Her phone used to live on the coffee table, face up, no password. She'd let me change the music from her playlists or Google a recipe while we cooked together. There was nothing to hide. But then the habits changed. The phone was always face down now. Always in her pocket or bag. Notifications off. She started locking the screen more aggressively, setting a passcode just in case it gets stolen. One night, we were watching a movie. She left her phone in the bathroom by accident and it buzzed. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear I wasn't. But when your partner leaves their phone in a place you both share and it starts buzzing repeatedly, you notice. I glanced. Tyler, work. That was the contact name. It buzzed again. Same name. Then a preview, can't stop thinking about. That's when she reappeared. She snatched the phone off the sink like it was a ticking bomb and tucked it under her hoodie sleeve. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, she said too quickly. Just something for a project. She didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. The thing was, I'd never met a Tyler from her office. Not once. And Raina wasn't shy about bringing coworkers around. We'd had BBQs, game nights, even hosted a small Christmas mixer once. But Tyler never showed. When I asked once in passing, before the messages, before the bathroom incident, who Tyler was, she had said, "Oh, he's on the Seattle team. We mostly email?" Mostly email, huh? And yet here he was, texting her like a midnight poet with bad timing. It was all so clear now. The pieces lined up. The glow from the trips. The secretive smiles when her phone lit up. The gym sessions where no sweat broke through. I wanted to scream. I wanted to storm into the kitchen and demand she tell me what was really going on. But I didn't. Instead, I started observing more carefully. Taking mental notes. Watching for patterns. I'd wake up at night just to listen. Did she whisper on the phone while she thought I was asleep? Did she stay in the bathroom longer than needed just to check her messages? Most times, the answer was yes. And the scariest part? She still looked at me like everything was fine. Like nothing had changed. But I had changed. The doubt had embedded itself like a splinter. And the more I tried to pretend I didn't notice, the deeper it went. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I wasn't the type to jump to conclusions. I wasn't the jealous type, the controlling type. I had always trusted her fully, blindly, the way you only trust someone when you don't think they're capable of hurting you. But that was the thing. Hurt doesn't always come from someone who sets out to do it. Sometimes it comes from someone who tells themselves, this doesn't count, or I deserve this, or he won't find out. And I was beginning to see the cracks not as coincidence, but as consequence. There's a difference. So I started preparing. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed clarity, not just suspicion. Because if I was going to lose her, I wasn't going to do it kicking and screaming. I was going to do it knowing I had seen every sign, heard every warning, and faced it with eyes wide open. And once I knew for sure, there would be no turning back. It was a Tuesday. I remember that detail clearly, maybe because Tuesdays are supposed to be uneventful. The kind of day where nothing big happens, where everything stays ordinary. I wish it had stayed that way. I had a late meeting get rescheduled last minute, giving me an unexpected afternoon off. For a moment, I considered running a few errands or catching up on laundry. But something tugged at me, an instinct I'd been trying to silence for weeks. I decided to go home. Our place sat on a quiet, tree-lined street. Nothing special, but it was ours. The driveway curved just slightly, so you couldn't see the whole front from the road unless you pulled in. As I turned the corner, something immediately felt off. There was a car parked in the driveway. Black. Sleek. New. Not ours. Not any of our friends, at least not anyone I recognized. My stomach tightened. I slowed down but didn't stop. I drove past the house like I wasn't going home at all, turned around at the next block, and parked on the street behind the house. I cut the engine and sat there for a few seconds, trying to convince myself I was being paranoid. Maybe Raina had company. A coworker. A client. Maybe it was nothing. But deep down, I already knew. I walked up the back alley and let myself into the yard through the side gate. I didn't slam it like usual. I was quiet, measured. The back door was unlocked. We never locked it during the day, especially if one of us was home. Inside, the house was silent. Too silent. I listened. There was faint music coming from the living room speakers, lofi beats, the kind Raina put on when she wanted a vibe, as she liked to call it. The curtains were drawn, which was odd. She loved light. I stepped into the kitchen and froze. 2 wine glasses sat on the island. One half full. One empty. A bottle of red next to them, open but not corked. A familiar scar for Raina's lay crumpled on the floor like it had been dropped in haste. And then there was a man's jacket draped casually over the back of one of our kitchen chairs. Not mine. I stood there, breath caught in my chest, staring at the scene like it was a photo in a crime documentary. All the little details that added up to one big truth. Voices upstairs. 2 of them. One laughing. Raina's. I didn't move. I didn't shout. I didn't march up the stairs. I simply waited. A few minutes later, footsteps on the landing. Then more laughter, hers again, soft and breathy. The kind of laugh I hadn't heard from her in weeks. And then she appeared at the top of the stairs. Her hair was tousled and she was wearing a loose-fitting t-shirt I didn't recognize. It wasn't mine. She looked startled at first, like a deer caught in headlights, but she quickly adjusted. "Jeremy," she said, surprised but calm. "You're home early." Behind her, a man emerged. Tall. Tan. Hair still damp from what I assumed had been a shower. He was tucking in his shirt as he descended the steps behind her. He stopped short when he saw me. We all just stood there in a kind of suspended silence. The air felt thick, like it might snap. The man gave a sheepish nod. "Hey, man. I didn't know." Raina cut him off. "This isn't what it looks like." That phrase. That godforsaken phrase. The universal cheat code for people caught doing exactly what it looks like. I didn't respond. I didn't ask who he was. I didn't demand an explanation. I just looked at her, really looked, and saw everything I needed to see. Her face was flushed. Her eyes darted between me and him, calculating something. There was no panic. No guilt. Just surprise. And beneath that, annoyance. Like I'd ruined her afternoon. I turned back to the kitchen, picked up my keys from the counter, and walked toward the door. My laptop bag was still by the side table. I grabbed it. "Jeremy, wait," she said, coming toward me. "Let's just talk for a second." I didn't stop. I didn't speak. The man stood awkwardly by the stairs, avoiding my eyes. I walked out without another word. Not because I didn't have things to say. I did. But because I knew in that moment that nothing she said would matter. The scene had already said everything. This wasn't a suspicion anymore. This wasn't late-night messages or missed details or a gut feeling I couldn't explain. This was real. Undeniable. She hadn't just crossed a line, she'd set fire to the map. As I got in my truck and backed out, I saw her come to the door. She didn't yell. She didn't chase me. She just stood there, watching. For some reason, that hurt the most. That she didn't even try. I drove aimlessly for a while, the way people do when they're trying to outrun their own thoughts. I ended up at a lookout spot just outside town. I used to go there back when I was a kid, when I needed to think or scream into the wind or just sit in silence. I parked and stared out at the hills, the sky, the setting sun. And I started to remember things. Like the time she called me her safe place after her dad passed. Or the first time she told me she loved me, curled up on my couch, mascara smudged from a rom-com we pretended not to cry over. Or the way she used to look at me in the mornings like I was her favorite part of waking up. Had that all been real? Or had it been slowly unraveling while I wasn't looking? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old photos of us. Smiling. Laughing. Holding each other like we never thought we'd let go. And now? A stranger's jacket on our chair. A stranger in our house. In her room. In our story. It all came back to that moment in the kitchen. The scarf on the floor. The wine glasses. The way she said my name like I was the one intruding. I knew then that it wasn't just about betrayal. It was about how easily she let go. No shame. No panic. Just a casual, "this isn't what it looks like." As if rewriting the script mid-scene could undo the damage. I sat there until it was dark, the kind of dark that wraps around you and muffles every sound. And for the first time since I saw that chat tab, since the gym sessions and business trips and Tyler, work, texts, I didn't feel confusion. I felt clarity. I knew exactly what I needed to do next. I wasn't going back to that house to fight or to get closure or to demand an apology. I was done with the guessing. Done with the trying. Done pretending that love, once broken like that, could be patched back together with explanations and tears. What she had handed me today wasn't just proof. It was permission. To let go. And this time I would. I didn't go home that night. I didn't text, didn't call, didn't respond to the 3 messages she sent within an hour after I left. One was, "Can we talk?" Another was, "I didn't mean for it to happen this way." The last one just said, "Please come home." I turned off notifications. The next morning, I drove to my friend Ryan's place and asked if I could crash on his couch for a bit. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a blanket and said, "Stay as long as you need." I was grateful he didn't push. I wasn't ready to say it out loud yet. The words felt heavy in my chest, and I was afraid that once I said them, she cheated, they'd solidify into something too real to undo. But I knew what I'd seen. I'd lived it. And I also knew what I needed to do next. The next afternoon, I went back home. Not to talk. Not to listen. Just to collect what mattered. When I pulled into the driveway, the black car was gone. Her car was there. I knew she'd be inside. I parked on the curb instead of pulling in. That felt symbolic in some way. I didn't ring the bell. I still had my key. When I walked in, she was on the couch. Her laptop was open, a mug of coffee beside her, her legs pulled under a throw blanket. She looked up when she saw me. "Jeremy," she said softly, like she was afraid of scaring me off. I said nothing. Just nodded once and headed toward the bedroom. "Can we just talk?" she called after me. I paused at the foot of the stairs. "I'm not here for that." Then I kept going. In our room, still our room, for now, I grabbed a duffel and started packing. Some clothes, my passport, the backup hard drive I used for work. I reached into the nightstand drawer and pulled out a manila folder that held my birth certificate, social security card, and a few other personal files. I'd stored them there without thinking years ago. Funny how the location of your identity documents becomes important only when you're ready to walk away from the life that used to define you. I didn't take everything. I didn't want to. I just wanted what I needed. I could feel her presence at the doorway long before she spoke. I didn't plan it, she said. I zipped the bag slowly. I didn't come here for a timeline. Jeremy, she tried again, stepping closer, it's not what you think. That made me laugh. Quietly. Bittersweet. I think I walked in on you with another man in our house in our bed. There's not a lot of room for interpretation there. She flinched. I didn't mean for it to happen like that. I know. That stopped her. She didn't expect that response. I turned to face her fully, and for the first time in days I met her eyes. You didn't mean for it to happen. But it did. And you let it happen. Every time you texted him. Every lie about a work trip. Every night you came home glowing from someone else's affection and smiled at me like nothing had changed. Tears welled in her eyes, but I didn't feel moved by them. You never even gave me the chance to fight for us, I said. Because you'd already left. Her lips trembled. I didn't know how to stop. You just never wanted to. I slung the duffel over my shoulder and walked past her. She reached out, just barely touching my arm. I stopped and looked down at her fingers. Then I stepped away. Downstairs, I grabbed my laptop, charger, and a few notebooks from the office. I paused at the bookshelf where we used to keep our travel journals. My hand hovered over the spine of one, Italy, 2019, but I didn't take it. Some memories belong to the past. When I walked out the front door, she followed. Where are you going? She asked, her voice cracking. Away, I said. For now. For good, maybe. You can't just leave like this. I'm not the one who left first. I got into my truck, started the engine, and backed out. She didn't chase me. She just stood there, arms wrapped around herself like the chill had caught her off guard. I didn't look back. I drove with no music on, windows down even though the air was cold. I needed to feel something real, a wind chill motion. I headed toward the outskirts of town and kept going until the city lights disappeared in my rearview. It wasn't dramatic. I didn't blast the radio or cry into the steering wheel. I didn't punch the dashboard or scream into the night. I was past that stage. What I felt was more dangerous than heartbreak. I felt detachment. I didn't stop at Ryan's that night. I got a cheap motel room about 40 minutes out, paid in cash. The kind of place with scratchy sheets and buzzing lights. I laid my bag down and sat on the bed, letting silence wrap around me. I stared at the ceiling. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Just hollow. But even in that emptiness, something small and sharp was beginning to take shape, resolve. The next morning, I started making calls. Lawyers. Accountants. Friends I trusted. I told them I was okay, just needed space. No one pried. They heard it in my voice. Back at the motel, I opened my laptop and started a new document. Title, Exit Plan. I listed everything I needed to do: cancel the joint credit card, update my mailing address, call the leasing office, start therapy, open a new checking account, move the photos from our shared drive to an external one, log out of our Netflix account. Every task had a purpose. Every action a small act of reclaiming myself. I knew there would be hard days ahead. Emotional landmines. Mornings when I'd miss her out of habit, not love. Nights when I'd wonder what I did wrong. But I also knew that whatever came next, it wouldn't include betrayal. And for the first time in months, I could breathe. This wasn't a clean break. There was no such thing. But it was my choice now. She didn't take everything from me. She just gave me the clarity to take back what mattered most. My peace. My future. My self-respect. And that started with walking out without a word. Because sometimes silence is the loudest way to say goodbye. It was 2 days later when she showed up. I'd moved into a temporary apartment across town. Short lease, basic furniture, quiet neighbors. It wasn't home, but it was safe. Clean walls, no memories in them yet. Just the scent of new beginnings and whatever detergent the last tenant had used. I was folding laundry when I heard the knock. It was soft. Hesitant. The kind of knock that says, I'm not sure I belong here. I knew before I opened the door. Raina stood there wearing the faded olive green shirt I bought her at that street fair in Asheville 2 summers ago. She always loved how soft it felt. I hadn't seen it in months. She was holding a small paper bag. I opened the door but didn't move aside. She offered a weak smile. Hey. I nodded, said nothing. I brought these, she said, lifting the bag slightly. Your favorite. From that place on 3rd you always liked. I took the bag. Set it on the console table without looking inside. She waited. I don't want to intrude, she said. I needed to see you. Still, I didn't step back. But I didn't close the door either. She took that as permission. Raina stepped inside like she was walking into a memory. Her eyes darted to the couch, the books on the coffee table, the keys on the counter. You got a place, she said. That was fast. I needed space, I replied simply. She nodded. I figured. She wasn't crying. Not yet. She looked tired, like someone who hadn't slept much, but her voice was even. No tremble. No desperation. You didn't answer my texts, she said. I didn't reply. I wasn't sure if you were okay. I'm okay, I said, not unkindly, but firmly. She looked down, fingers fumbling with the hem of her shirt. I've been thinking about everything. About us. I said nothing. I was stupid, she began. What I did, it wasn't just a mistake. It was selfish. Reckless. I don't even recognize the person I became. Silence. She stepped closer. I lost sight of what mattered. Of who I was with you. I thought I wanted something different. Something exciting. I raised an eyebrow. Did you find it? That got her. A flicker of guilt across her face. No, she said quickly. I didn't. It was empty. And afterward, when you left, when I saw your face that day, I realized how far I'd gone. She paused. I've been going to therapy. I crossed my arms. 2 days in. No, she said quietly. I started a while ago. Before everything. I didn't tell you because I thought I'd handle it on my own. I almost laughed. She continued more carefully now. It's helped. I've been digging into why I felt restless. Why I started lying. It's not about you. It was never about you. That somehow made it worse. Then why didn't you just tell me? I asked. If it wasn't about me, why let me become collateral? She stepped forward again. Because I was scared. I thought if I said the truth out loud, you'd leave me. I let that sit for a moment. I left anyway. She blinked, then whispered, yeah. We stood there, quiet, the hum of the fridge filling the space where years of conversations used to live. I'm not asking for everything to go back to how it was, she said. I know that's not possible. But I hoped maybe we could talk. Just talk. Start there. I nodded toward the chair near the kitchen island. She sat. I poured us both tea. Same routine as always, but something about it felt staged now. Like we were actors playing ourselves in a scene we didn't remember writing. She sipped slowly. I miss you, she said. I didn't respond. I miss who I was with you. How safe I felt. How real. Still, I stayed quiet. She set the cup down. I know I messed up. But I still love you. I always have. I looked at her carefully. Studied her face. She meant the words. At least, she thought she did. But it wasn't love that brought her here. Not the kind that fights to survive storms. It was fear. The collapse of a convenient life. The comfort she'd lost. The safety net she'd cut loose, now desperately trying to stitch it back together. You missed the version of me who believed in you, I said finally. But that version isn't here anymore. She looked down. I know. I leaned back. You're not here because you love me. You're here because everything else fell apart. Her jaw clenched. That's not fair. No, I said, it's honest. She didn't argue. We sat in silence again. After a while, she asked, do you hate me? I shook my head. No. I just don't trust you. She nodded slowly as if that was worse. You didn't just break the rules, I said. You broke the part of me that believed we were on the same team. A tear finally slipped down her cheek. I never stopped being on your team. I sighed. You did the second you gave someone else a playbook. She wiped her face, but the tears kept coming now. Quiet. Controlled. Like even her crying had a script. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she said, standing. For everything. I know it's probably too late. I didn't stop her. She picked up her purse, walked to the door. Then she turned, hesitant. Would it be okay if I checked in sometime? Just to see how you're doing. I looked at her. Really looked. She was the same woman I'd loved. But she wasn't the same woman I could love again. I think you need to check in on yourself first. She nodded once, whispered, okay, and stepped outside. I didn't watch her go. Didn't need to. I sat back down and drank my tea. It had gone cold. But I didn't feel bitter. Just still. Raina had come looking for something, maybe forgiveness, maybe comfort, maybe just a familiar place to land. But I wasn't that place anymore. Whatever this was, it wasn't reconciliation. It was a ghost passing through. And I let it pass. She stayed the night. Not because I asked her to. Not because I wanted her to. But because when she broke down and said she had nowhere else to go for the night, just one night, I didn't have the heart to tell her no. I pointed to the guest room, offered her a towel, showed her where the tea bags were, and turned on the hallway light. It wasn't kindness. It was courtesy. She mistook it for an opening. As she sipped her tea on the couch, she started talking. About us. About the early days. About how much she'd grown. How therapy was helping her see everything clearly now. I listened. But not the way I used to. Her voice sounded different to me. Not because it had changed, but because something in me had. I heard her words the way you hear the radio in a coffee shop background noise. Familiar. Meaningless. She said she was sorry again. For lying. For hurting me. For taking me for granted. I nodded. But I didn't feel anything. She reached for my hand once. I let her touch it. Then gently pulled away. She didn't cry that time. Maybe she finally started to understand that what she'd broken couldn't be glued back together with old jokes and shared memories. That night, she went to the guest room and closed the door softly behind her. I turned off the lights and sat in the quiet. Not mourning. Not hoping. Just existing. Morning came quietly. I woke to the smell of coffee. She'd made it the way I liked, just like she used to. She was in the kitchen, hair tied up, moving around like she still belonged. Made breakfast, she said with a small smile. I nodded, thanked her. Ate a few bites. She tried to make conversation light and casual, like this was some sort of reset button. But I wasn't resetting. I was already gone. She didn't recognize the man across from her. The one who used to hang on her words. The one who used to plan weekend getaways just to see her smile. That man wasn't here anymore. I told her she could stay a bit longer if she needed to get her bearings. That there was no rush. She smiled again, thinking it meant something. That night, she slept in the guest room again. She probably fell asleep thinking this was progress. That she had cracked the door back open. But I had closed it long before she knocked. She never heard me pack the rest of my things. Never heard me close the laptop, leave the spare key on the counter, or walk out the front door for the last time. She wouldn't know until morning that I was already gone. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. Some endings don't come with screaming or slamming doors. Sometimes they come with silence. And peace.